let's make some Lussekatter. Improvise a little. It's gonna kind of just grind up the saffron a little bit. That smells good. That saffron smells so good. Maybe a bit longer. Bam! Look at that. Look at all that dough. Look at that. There we go. Yeah, look at these. Look at these. Whoa. Hello everyone. Today we are going to be making some Lussekatter, or otherwise known as Lussekatter or Saffron Bulle, which is a Swedish baked good that have during Christmas time. And it is that time of the year, it is that season, so that's what we're going to be making. It is traditionally made for St. Lucia's Day in Swedish culture. There's a lot of backstory around St. Lucia's and the story around it, but these are kind of, I guess, some baked goods that represent that day. That's what the Lucia, I guess, kind of roughly correlates to, and the katte is the kind of shape of the baked good that is the more traditional style, which is kind of like a cat's tail, so that's why it's like cat. This baked good can be made in the Lussekatter can be made in different formations and looks, but the main one is, yeah, the kind of cat's tail, as the kind of translation is, basically. But yeah, enough jibber jabber about what we're doing, so let's make some Lussekatter. So to start off, we'll bring out all our ingredients. So as one of the names suggests, this is Saffron's Bulle. So we're going to have some saffron, very important. We need some plain flour. We have some unsalted butter, which we need that. We have some light milk. Now I've looked at a few different recipes, and recipe that my mum gave me, so shout out to my mum. And it calls for some milk and some quark. I've never heard of quark before, but apparently, if I can remember correctly, it's kind of like a very light milk. It's kind of like skim milk is a kind of pseudo replacement for it. So instead we'll just be using, for the milk portion, we'll be using light milk, and for the quark portion, we'll be using light milk. So hopefully this will be fine, but you know, sometimes you just gotta improvise a little, or use what you have available, because I've never seen quark before. I've never even heard of quark before I looked at this recipe. And then I think all we need is just a little bit of salt left. That's all we need. So we'll move these to the side over here. And to start off, we're going to be just heating up some of the milk to 41 degrees Celsius. That will be for kind of helping to bloom the yeast a little. Let's do that. So I'm just going to use the back pot back there. And need some scales. Now also with the recipe is, we have it mostly in deciliters, but I also have another recipe which is in grams. So I'm going to be kind of mixing and matching between the two a little bit, because I prefer to do everything when it's baked goods into grams, because it needs to be precise. And I've had a lot of issues in the past where it can be a bit awkward when you use volumetric measuring instead of mass or weighted. 500 grams, 500 mils. All right, 500 mils there. Then we'll just chuck it on to the heat until it gets to 41 degrees Celsius. It's not too hot, but just warm enough. So we have our milk at around just under 41 degrees, but it's heated up a little bit. So we're gonna be adding in 15 grams of yeast. So the recipe says 2.5 teaspoons, and then the other recipe says 15 grams. What we're gonna be doing is we're just gonna be spooning it out and see what 2.5 is. So this will be seven, so basically 2 of these packets, I think. And if you saw the previous video, I only needed 1.5 packets and I accidentally poured it all in, but this time, not the case. So both of these are 7, so we'll just assume it's 14 degrees. So 1, 2, all right, so 2.5 is about 1 packet. Do I keep going? I'm gonna do half of this packet. So 2.5 teaspoons is practically 7 grams of yeast. Yeah, there we go. We'll do 3.5. We'll see how this goes. It's hard to know. Oh, fuck it, we'll just add a bit. We'll add a bit more. Leave that there. And we'll just give this a mix around. Try and dissolve or like incorporate some of the milk and yeast together to bloom it a little bit. So with the instant yeast, which I believe this is, you don't have to bloom it. You only do that for active yeast, but you know. What I'm also going to do is, to this milk solution, is add in, it's going to kind of just grind up the saffron a little bit and add it in to kind of a little bit infuse it to the milk. I don't think this might not be a necessary step, but so it says 1 gram. I have 2 grams here, so I guess half of this. I think you probably do as much as you want, but we'll do half. And we'll just grind it up a little bit and then add it to our milk solution. That smells good. That saffron smells so good. As you can, I'm not sure if you can see, but it's gone quite yellowy because of the saffron in the milk, which is the kind of the color that these buns will be kind of looking forward afterwards. All right, move this to the side. Now, another reason that I wanted to make this today is because I got a new toy. So let's bring out my new toy, I think. Ta-da! I have bought myself a little present when there was some sales on, and bought myself a stand mixer. So another reason why I wanted to make some sort of baked good is that, yeah, I don't have to knead it by hand. So this will be very fun and very cool. So I'm excited to use this a bit more and make more, maybe breads, baked goods, noodles and pastas even. Very exciting. That being said, we still need to add some ingredients to this bowl. So one of the recipes calls for 16 deciliters of plain flour, and the other one is basically a kilo or 1,050 grams. So I'm just going to count out 16 deciliters and see what that turns out into. So it's about 80 grams per one of these, so 16 is basically a kilo, I think. All right, so 4 is roughly 280, which is about 70 grams. 70 grams times, yeah, basically a kilo. It's about 70 grams per deciliter. So yeah, there's 100 ml things, which is 1 deciliter. So we'll just do a kilo, I think. So that's 400. So yeah, 1,120 grams is 16 times 70. So we'll do roughly around there. I know I said I was going to be very precise, and I'm kind of like, we'll just do around there. We'll do 1,050, and we can always add more flour to it. All right, there we go, that seems good. Okay, I did forget to bring out an ingredient, and I've got to bring out sugar. So we'll bring out some sugar. 2 deciliters, or I'm going to assume 200 grams of sugar. Oh, it's about 100 grams each, as expected. All right, we want, I think, a teaspoon of these, or we'll just do 10 grams of salt. So 10 grams of salt. All right, there we go. And then all we're going to be adding in is 200 grams of butter. So 200 grams of butter and the milk mixture. That is fine. We can move this to the side. All right, there we go. All right, we'll unlock it, put it in. All right, let's just mix the kind of dry ingredients first. I don't know if this is necessary, but I want to do it. Nice and slow. Woo, very cool, very cool. Let's add in our saffron milk yeast mixture. And we don't want to leave any of this saffron behind. Saffron is one of the most expensive spices there is, mainly because of how it's harvested, because it is the stamen of the crocus flower, I believe. Someone can fact check that me, or I'll fact check myself again. The only way to harvest it is via human labor, because it's very delicate. So that's why it is so expensive, because it can't be automated. Start incorporating some of this. Let's go, I'm so excited. And while that's going, we'll portion out our 200 grams of butter. Butter! And I don't know if we need to, but we'll cut it into more manageable pieces. And plop, and plop. And then we'll just let this go for about 5-10 minutes, maybe a bit longer, until it's all incorporated and all the dough's coming off the edges. I think we add in a little bit more. We'll add in 1 extra cup of light milk. And we'll just leave it at that. That should be okay. Let this go. Oh, it's very low. Oh, I'll let this go and we'll see how it turns out. All right, so I've let it been going for a little while. It's quite smooth, so let's have a look at it. Oh, look at that. So it seems pretty smooth. Now, I don't know if this is necessary, but I was watching this one channel, and it says if you can stretch it out, it's developed enough gluten. I think it's still a little bit longer to go, according to that channel. I don't know, I try and do as much research as possible because I want these to work. So we'll let it go for another 5 minutes. So I think when you want to stretch it out, you don't want it to break apart. So you want to stretch it out and it kind of keeps its form. So we'll let it go for another five-ish minutes, I think, and then we'll try then. All right, it's been another, I don't know exactly how long. I think it should be fine now. If it's not quite the kind of gluten consistency, I think it's fine. Well, hopefully it'll be fine. It's been going for a little while now. It doesn't need to go any further, but it's definitely well incorporated. I think it seems quite smooth. Try the test again. Oh, it's better this time. Oh, I think that's pretty good. It still tears a little bit, but I think that'll be fine. Yeah, so it's nice and smooth. So we're gonna transfer this to all right, we have our this is just gonna be my proofing bowl at this stage. What we'll do is we'll just add a touch of oil into the thing. This is just to help it rise and not stick to the sides of the bowl. And we are going to grab our dough, which we can have a nice look at. Look at that, nice and incorporated. Little tacky, little sticky, but not too bad at all. And we'll chuck this into our our bowl here, chuck the lid on, and we'll let this proof until it gets roughly double in size. So depending on your ambient temperature, this could take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, maybe 3 to 4 if it's very cold. But we'll leave this to proof, and then we'll be back for, basically I think the next step is, from memory, is we divvy it up into portions and we start actually rolling out our baked goods. So that'll be very exciting. So I'm gonna do a bit of a tidy up here, of course, let this proof for another couple hours, and we'll see in a bit. Bam! Okay, so we've let this proof now, and it's well and truly doubled in size. So we'll just smack it down a little and then bring it out of this container. Look at that. Look at all that dough. Love to see it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to portion these into equal sized pieces. I think around 60 to 70 grams each, I think, but I'll double check that. So we want about 60 gram pieces, I think is what we're after. We'll go around there. We have our trusty scale here, and we are just gonna see what we do. So much of this. All right, so we want about half of these. 80, all right, 70. So around 60 to 70, I think is what we're gonna be going for. I'll just separate all these. I'm gonna chuck it under a kind of slightly damp towel as well, just so it doesn't dry out. And I'll just portion out all of these from this big piece of dough. So yeah, see you in a moment when they're all portioned out. Here we have all our portions for our Lussekatter, for our buns and whatever sizes. So that, how many is here? 5, 10, 6, 27, 28, 29. 29, so almost 30. I think you probably could make 30 if you were like spot on. But about 29 to 20 or 30 buns is how we're gonna be making. So that's pretty good. All right, we don't need the scales anymore, so we'll get rid of the scales. And we'll bring out at least one tray that we should be cooking on. So here's a tray, and we'll put some greaseproof paper on it. There's one tray. Boom, bop, bop, bow. So we have one tray here, and now we are going to make our kind of buns. So we grab into a bowl to start off with, and we'll see how well we can do. We'll see how well. Then we want to roll it into like a nice kind of log, kind of somewhat thin. Now I'm sure the first one's going to be the worst looking one, and then I'll eventually get better by the 30th or the 29th bun. That seems reasonable. And then we want to kind of roll them in until we get a shape like that. Very cute looking. Chuck these, so they're a lot smaller than I was anticipating, but we will need to use them, do another proof with them. Yeah, let's do another one. Let's see how we'll do another one. So there they are. They are a little bit smaller than I was currently expecting. All right, then we roll it out. Maybe do a bit more skinny. I don't really know. And then bring it in. Look at that. I'll then go through the rest of these dough. There's not much that can fit on, so I think we'll do, I don't know, we'll keep it spaced out and we'll do 6 to start off with. We might be able to fit more per tray though, so we got that. But yeah, I'm gonna just make a whole tray of these. We'll be back then. Yeah. Okay, so we've now, as we can see under here, have our doughs all shaped. We're gonna let these proof for 30 to 40 minutes to kind of get basically double in size, I think. So hopefully around that long, we should see. But there's one thing we're gonna do before we do that, and that is to put some, we've got to put some sultanas or raisins, known elsewhere. I actually had to research what are the difference between sultanas and raisins. And in Australia, sultanas are what raisins are everywhere else. And raisins here, I think, are similar to sultanas, except they have the white variety of grape. So yeah, you want the kind of darkish ones. And what we're going to do with these is we are just going to put it right in the middle, where the very center of the curls. We're just going to put it right in there, and we'll do one on each side. Now I'm not a huge sultana fan, but this is very important. It's a very important part of it. It adds to the look of it. It probably has some sort of meaning as well, but I don't actually know the meaning. And we'll just put those right in there, just one per center. So yeah, some of these are much better than others. I think I was getting the hang of it by the 6th one. Now we will let this proof for 30 to 40 minutes, or double in size is the main thing. But while that's happening, I have another tray which I will then do the same thing with. And once that's filled up, maybe I'll just make them on another greaseproof paper and get it all kind of ready to go to get put into the oven. Because yeah, I'll see you when these are all proofed and ready to be put into the oven. So not long now, and then we've had our Lussekatter all done. Very excited, very excited. We've let the buns proof, so let's have a look at them. So I think it went closer to about an hour, but you see they're bigger than they were before. I'm not sure if they were double in size, but they're definitely bigger than they were before, and I think this is pretty good. We have our oven, which has been preheating, so it's at 225, roughly around there, in fan force, convection, just standard stuff. Before we put it in, we are just going to put an egg wash on it. So that's gonna be very simple, just egg and some milk mixed together. So roughly around a tablespoon of milk, but we'll just do a splash. That seems good. And then we'll do 1 egg, put that in there, like so. And we'll also need the brush. Get this all whiskery. Maybe a bit too much milk, but that's okay. It'll be fine. All right, made our egg wash, and then we're just gonna brush on some eggs. Brush on like that. All right, and we chuck it into the oven for 5 to 8 minutes. So it's quite high heat, so it'll brown up really quickly, it'll cook really quickly. And basically we're just getting it to a nice brown consistency, a nice kind of caramelization. So we don't want to be in there too long, but just so it gets a bit brown. So yeah, chuck it in, and then we'll put a timer on for 5 minutes, and then I'll check it like 5, 6, 7, 8 around there and see how it goes. Let's go, let's put it in. All right, and then we'll put in a timer for 5, and then we'll just keep having a look at it. But yeah, see you shortly. Okay, it's basically been about 7 minutes-ish, so I'm taking these out. They look good, they look very brown, so let's bring them out. And I'm going really quickly because we don't want it to be in there too long. There we go. Not looking too bad. Hopefully they're cooked, but we'll let them cool down a bit because they're quite hot. While we're doing that, we'll chuck another one in, I think. Now, the recipe did say to do it egg brush beforehand, but also another one said to do it afterwards. So this one we did beforehand, and the next one we'll do afterwards, and we'll see how it goes. But they do look quite brown, as you can see there. So yeah, I'll let this one cool down here. Chuck another one in shortly, and then it's time to taste test basically. So we'll let these cool down, do what we need to do. Then it's time to taste, and I am excited. I'm excited to try this out. See how I've done. See if I've done an okay job, because I don't do many baked goods, so this will be interesting. But yeah, see you shortly. But we have our 2 different types of, well, slightly different, same but slightly different with the way we did the egg wash. So this one was, we did the egg wash beforehand. Most of them had a much more brown during the cooking process, and has a little less sheen than the one we did the egg wash afterwards. The ones we did the egg wash afterwards did not have as much browning. It still did, but not as much as the one we did egg wash beforehand, but it's a lot more shiny, has a much better sheen to it. Maybe a little bit of a kind of whitish look from the egg wash doing afterwards. So, but they both look very good. So yeah, the one without the egg wash, one with the egg wash beforehand, and one without the egg wash afterwards. So I'm not sure if you can tell from here, it's probably a bit too hard, but I can tell from here, and so I'll describe what it's like. But because we have 2 different ones, we will actually try both of these. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to eat 2, or at least taste 2 different of these Lussekatter. Very unfortunate for me, but I'm very excited to see how these taste and see how I've done, because I don't do too many baked goods. But so yeah, let's go and head and taste this, shall we? I am very excited. But yeah, look at these, look at these. Whoa. So we have our Lussekatter here. We have our 2 different types that we've made. It's hard not really to say 2 different types, but slight variations to the same thing of obviously the egg wash rambled on about beforehand. But without further ado, let's give this a taste test, because I am excited. So, it's very soft, quite fluffy, very subtle flavor, a bit sweet as well, but very good. So it's very kind of, I think we're probably going to add a little bit more saffron maybe. Seemed like a lot, but I think we could do a bit more to get a bit more of that saffron flavor through. But we got some, so that was the pre-egg wash one, but let's try the one with the egg wash afterwards. This one seems a bit sweeter, but I don't know if that's because of the egg wash afterwards or what. No, the same. Very buttery as well, but it's like kind of like sweet bread. It's like a sweet bread, bit of saffron, very nice colored yellow raisins, and it is very good. Yeah, I'm not sure. They both have, I think in terms of looks, the ones with the egg wash afterwards have a lot more of a sheen and honestly kind of look a bit nicer, but they both look very good. So I don't know. And they both taste almost exactly the same. So I think there's no difference between either or. I think you just got to play around with what works for you, but I think overall, I think this is a raging success. I like it. This is very reminding me of Christmas time because it is that time of the year, and maybe give this a go yourself if you want to try a different kind of nationality of food that might be different from what you're used to, or just give it a go any time of the year whenever you watch this video. But yeah, I think without further ado, I think that's a wrap. I think that's a conclusion of Lussekatter. Thank you all for sticking through to the end of this video if you watched it this far. Yeah, until next time, peace out. Have a good one.